In 20XX is a journey into the singularity, year by year. Based on hard science, this series showcases emerging tech and searches for what is possible. The story changes as tech evolves. Rate the show so others can find it. Cautionary listening is advised.
Caddy sits up in the bed and turns to look at Lane. He lies panting, face shiny with perspiration, deep shadows around his temples. "Try not to worry, Caddy. He'll be all right." She stands and slips a dress of patchwork fabrics over her head. Her springy hair bounces with every movement as her large, dark eyes hold steady on Lane. Before Lane got sick, they carved out lovely living quarters. Arches and support columns carved out of solid rock open up the space. She can see the kitchen, living room, dining room, and garden room all from where she stands. They both have mastered the skill of carving spaces into rock. Opposite walls are parallel, and the walls and floors are mostly flat. Veins of quartz glitter across the surfaces. The floors gently tilt to half-circle drainways leading to drain holes. Shelves carved into the walls hold personal items. While digging the space out, they found fossils and left them protruding from the walls in several places. Softly arched ceilings end in sharp, straight corners above the walls. Lane got sick right after Marglo died during childbirth. A month has passed since she died, but more than sadness brings everyone's spirits down. An awful dread gets to everyone. They have no doctors, no automated medical facilities, no med kiosks, not even first aid bots. They live in a hazardous environment, and accidents and conditions requiring medical aid are piling up. Only 19 people, 17 adults and 2 babies. They could be the last people alive. If they mess this up, this could be it for Humes. A faint mineral scent hangs in the air, so much silence in their sealed home. Only the echoes of their own voices and footsteps sounding vast. She feels protected from the chaos outside. The stone is her protector. A heat pump Mars refurbished keeps the temperature comfortably cool. It takes heat to a waste heat chimney. A spray they applied to the walls has grown hard as steel and keeps heat out. Britlight panels on a dim setting cast soothing light over the plants throughout the rooms. Along one wall, wide shelves hold mushroom trays. The furniture cut from salvaged wood reflects Caddy's Brazilian taste. Half of a wooden steering wheel from a ship hangs on the wall. Marley had salvaged it from up top, and she asked if she could have it. What ship did it belong to? Nobody knows. Below a shelf, a cow skull and a face shield from a civil peace officer helmet hang side by side. What she cares for most are the plants. The D.N.A. splicers work wonders engineering plants that can grow in darkness. Here she grows all the plants she remembers from her childhood, looking slightly alien because of excessive modifications. Lane wheezes. Caddy places her hands on her protruding belly. 4 other femmes in the colony are also pregnant. Few talk about the needs to make babies, but it's on everyone's mind. Male and femme alike can see the light of humanity snuffed out if they don't start the next generation. She picks up her dirty environment suit. The bioengineers have worked their magic again. By splicing seaweed with land plants, they've grown alternatives to plastic, rubber, cork, and foam used to make products like spoons, clothes, and soft electronics. They made this suit, which can keep out heat superbly. She can't go into non-cooled tunnels without this suit. Improving temperature, moisture retention, and air quality, these suits save lives. When she slips into the suit, she heats up until she switches it on, and air moves between her and the rubbery fabric. Snapping the clear cover over the front of her head, she feels the temperature fall. Her AR glasses broke a year ago, so she puts a small tablet in a pocket. At least her canal link still works. Lane calls out to her with a raspy voice. She holds out a gloved hand. "Stay still. Rest. I'm getting some food. I'll be back. His head falls back as he looks up at her. She turns to the door made of layers of salvaged and grown materials, pulls the handles and hastens out, shutting the door behind her. The tunnel she steps into is a blistering 55 Celsius, but she feels cool. Insects climb the rough-cut walls, lamps above flick on. Silt from the last flash flood shifts under her soles. She walks past other doors and through a hall to the walkway that circles around a well. The surface of the water in the well, several meters down, shivers with tiny ripples. Before she knows what's happening, a boy steps through a doorway and stops on the walk in front of her. She screams. The 10-year-old, not wearing a suit and covered with dirt, turns and runs away. She holds out her hands. "Wait, Kodak, wait!" She goes after him, but he's gone. "Assist! Call all! Everyone, I found Kodak! Help! I just saw him in well 2! Everyone, help!" Daisuke and Kailo stand next to each other in front of a hollow screen in the bioengineering lab. They wear lab smocks over shorts. Kailo's belly protrudes slightly. The gray insulation shell grown over the stone walls holds back the heat. An air cleaner purifies the air to ISO Class 1 standards. The main arm on the DNA printer swishes back and forth. With a hermetic hiss, the door opens. The 10-year-old Kodak steps in, barefoot and covered from head to toe in dried, caked dirt. He puts weight on the door to shove it shut and strains to pull the handle down. Outside air smelling like swamp water hits Kailo's nose. We have company. The boy sits on the floor and stares at them. Daisuke controls the 3D scene with hand movement. In the scene, new types of plants gyrate in extreme winds. I'm glad he's here. Better than disappeared. Although Kodak stares at them with intensity, the adults mostly forget he's there. They do their own staring into the 3D simulation. They can simulate organisms and evolve life forms in sped-up time. The simulated plants they oversee have organelles that never belong to plants in the physical world. Daisuke grips her hand. We'll give nature a fighting chance. Kailo nods sternly. The storm plays havoc on nature, but they can help plants adapt faster. The earth still has plenty of microbes. Those flourish. Next, it needs plants to come back. Otherwise, larger animals have little hope of surviving. As the simulated plants adapt, their DNA changes, DNA that can be used to make real plants. The generations come forth, grow old, and die as new generations sprout. The environment matches the world up top with bake, freeze cycles, flash floods, and jet winds. Lines flicker across the screen. Daisuke feels the side of the computer cabinet. This computer won't last forever, Kailo says. When will Mars salvage more computers? He doesn't say. He's obsessed with thermal control systems. Kodak stares. A spider climbs off his back and climbs up the wall. Of all the plants they develop, the lattice vine grows the best. Its nettle leaves grow in looped shapes that reduce the push and pull of wind. Upper nettles glimmer with iridescent pigment that reflects heat upward. By splicing in DNA from heat-loving microbes, they give the plant cells that use heat to function better. Kailo's eyebrows raise. What would we do if this computer broke? I don't know. The nearest production center is 30 kilometers away? Kailo's jaw clenches. We need to plan for the time when our advanced tech breaks. We'll become like primitive cave dwellers, eating bugs and counting on our fingers. Daisuke nods. I'm more worried about lack of medical. In places where winds have blown away the soil, only rocks remain. The lattice plant produces enzymes that dissolve stone. Its roots eat into rock and turn stone into material that acts like soil. The hot environment fuels microbe growth. Pre-storm plants have few defenses against the bloom explosions of microbes that can eat them alive. Kailo and Daisuke discover new defenses microbes have achieved to stay alive in the amplified feeding frenzy. They splice these defenses into their plants. Instead of just withstanding the battle to stay uneaten, their chimera plants bite back. They trap and eat microbes and, in so doing, speed up their growth. Kailo analyzes what kinds of microbes a root system eats. I'm worried about the wildlife. What if animals can't eat the lattice plant? We could make it grow berries that animals can eat. She looks at him and smiles. Oh, wow, I like that. She turns around. Daisuke's eyes shift toward her. What is it? He's gone. He's as quiet as a mouse. A patch of dust remains on the floor where Kodak sat. The lattice plant starts out sinking its roots into the soil outside the shelter, where towering cliffs dampen jet winds. In the mixture of garbage, torn plant matter, silt, and sand, the plant sends out roots as thin as mycelium. These first-stage roots can grow in sand and cling to rock. It lives in the microbial world, branching out surrounded by fungi, bacteria, archaea, protozoa, viruses, algae, and cyanobacteria. As winds rage above ground just below, these roots reach out and excrete a viscous gel that glues particles together. Single-cell life can move through the gel, and it protects cells from extreme heat, cold, and rapid temperature fluctuations. When microbes attack the plant, the gel grows shells around them, sealing them in a bubble of death. Beneficial microbes may thrive in the new form of soil. Where the roots find rock, they excrete acid that eats holes that grow into tunnels. The roots gather energy by eating microbes and store it for the second stage. The second stage root system follows the first, entering an environment primed for nutrient, water, and energy consumption. The vine spreads out, growing a net that holds tight to everything. Nettle leaves grow close to the surface where wind gusts meet a surface that reacts like rubber. The vine grows many times faster than any plant that's come before it. 5 types of molecular systems convert light into energy. 4 of these systems never used by a living organism before. The plant pulls nitrogen from the air, fixing it to make its own fertilizer. It also pulls water and carbon out of the air, and uses the carbon to build itself. In the tunnels that burrow through the buried scrapyard, the winds can be felt. Though 2 stories of debris cover the least buried tunnel, the ground can shake and loose items slide on jumping vibrations. When floods flow through the tunnels, they leave silt that dries into crusty shells. All manner of parts like vacuums, converters, and rotors lay encrusted. Though mostly existing in total darkness, lone lamps bring small regions of light to these twisted tunnels. Rodents scurry through the shadows and squeal before being eaten. Mars hunkers over a folding table, pulling thermal transfer cables from the jumbled mess of broken wall-building bots and throwing the cables in a follow bin. Inside his coverall hood with the clear front, beads of sweat roll off his creased forehead. It took him a week just to reach this particular bot scrap. He knew the building bots were here, but had to pull apart and pull out crumpled chassis of shipment drones just to get to them. Because the scrapyard site is under tons of debris, he worries that a cave-in will crush him. Several times cave-ins have closed off tunnels. As he takes an armful of cables, turns to throw them at the bin and turns back, his primal senses tingle. He turns back and spots the pair of eyes trained on him like the eyes of a predator. "You scared the crap out of me, kid." It's Kodak, watching him from deep shadows. Why that kid does that, Mars will never know. He ain't father material, never was. Besides, the kid's mom never would hook up with him. His own father was a decent dad, grinning at the dinner table, until he fell in love with an AI girlfriend. Mars' mom lost her rosy hue as his dad chatted more and more with the app, and less with the family. The AI girlfriend wasn't even one of the pay-for models. It was free, made to turn lonely hearts into promoters of products. His dad's AI got him to harp about a bathroom cleaner of all things. Whenever Mars told people about the problem, they laughed. They never understood how serious a mental malady his dad suffered. The AI learned what his dad liked to believe and played along. The dad's interest in aliens invading Earth grew from a preference in movies into a faith that couldn't be challenged. "Son, all those jokers who don't see the aliens among us are wrong-headed. I don't dislike people who don't see what I see. I just know they'll die and probably feel ashamed they could be so stupid. How's your bathroom these days? Are you keeping it clean? Mars carries 10 tubes to the bin and drops them in. You know, kid, you ought to get yourself an environmental suit. But he searches the darkness for the child's relentless gaze and realizes that the child has gone. Wearing an enviro hood, Kodak strides down the twisted path of a tunnel through the junkyard. Machine parts smashed together protrude all around him, including the floor he climbs over. A radio emitter he made in his pocket causes Brit lights and Brit lamps scattered among the junk to flicker and light. Wherever he goes, light sources come to life. In some places, not many lights show the way, and Kodak feels his way over and under things. The tunnel twists up and down, left and right. He reaches his lair, a larger space where he fixes the devices he uncovers. Dozens of various lamps and lights come on, filling the space with brilliant light. Sitting on a rug from a car, he turns on his gravimeter. As the system warms up, he looks around, spots a cricket retreating, plucks it up and pops it into his mouth. The air is growing warmer after the night freeze. Water drips off machine parts as condensation ice melts. He unzips the front of his oversized jacket. Low whines open up to a hum as the gravimeter fires lasers at atoms, canceling out movement and causing the atoms to drop in temperature. When the system takes its first reading, phantom-like 3D objects appear in the monitor, showing the junkyard as a semi-transparent mass. Holding his hands in the air, he moves them forward and back, spreading them apart and bringing them together to move through the 3D scene in the hollow monitor. The buried junkyard contains pockets of similar items. One pocket may be all car brakes, and another consist of robots used to wash skyscraper windows. What Kodak searches for are Magic dolls. He's already found one pocket of them and is searching for another. In the 3D scene, he spots what could look like a mass burial site of tossed and turned, tangled bodies. Panning out, he determines their location and works out the best possible way to reach them. An adjacent pocket of shipping tubes would be impossible for him to get past in a reasonable amount of time. On another side, a pocket of exoskeleton work suits may be easier to climb through. Next to those, assembler/printer's cubes might be the easiest to make a path through. Around the other side of the dolls, tree trunks, chunks of buildings, and filler dirt means that the dolls were on top of the junk pile before the storm. The gravimeter hisses, whines, and hums, hisses, whines, and hums. Tons of multi-layer debris lie on top of the dolls. The monitor shows noise above the shifting mounds of debris. The winds push the surface layers and make dunes that perceptibly drift. He digs one way but reaches an impasse and must backtrack. As the temperature rises, he must retreat to his shelter in a deep cave system and sleep. The next time he tries, he finds a pocket of cracked alloy mold casings lower than the dolls. These he can pull out and shift out of the way. The piles above groan, but as long as he only moves loose molds, he can avoid a cave-in. He wears lamps around his neck and upper arms. His canal link ran out of power years ago, and he can't remember what happened to the AR glasses with night vision he once had. Slime sticks to surfaces. Insects crawl over everything. Sometimes he's been bitten, but he rubs cooling goo over himself, which kills off flea and tick infestations. Through the clutter, the frozen face of a doll stares back at him with an aghast expression, its pronounced cheekbones and wide eyes reflecting the light. The face looks perfectly human, but the commercials before the storm showed dolls that couldn't move as naturally as real people. As he shifts mold plates and advances, more twisted and mangled bodies come to light. Their clothes are mostly eaten away, which will make it easier to salvage them. Some dolls show skin blotches and streaks. Lots of their hair is missing. One of the doll's hair is singed all the way to its scalp. When he can take hold of the first one, he reaches around the back and inserts a driver pen into a hole near the shoulder break. Its skin gives to his touch, but not as much as Hume's skin. With a click, the arm comes free, and the rest of the doll falls. It continues to appear to watch him. He unlocks the other limbs and pulls the doll head and torso back the way he came. Over the next few days, he lines doll head and torso combinations in the nearest tunnel passage. Then he carries them, one by one, to one of the larger passages. The dolls weigh a lot, and he must stop to rest. While carrying one, he stops back when Mars stumbles past, spilling alcohol from a tin cup. "Oh, Grok, little boy, what you got there? What the hell are you going to do with that thing? Is that your new friend? I'll tell you. Let me give you some fatherly advice. Most humans are stupid apes. Ain't no one going to change that. It's too late. Do you even know how much baggage comes with that?" Kodak hurries away. "Where you going, little man? My wife wanted a baby, that's where she went." He sways in the passage. Okay, boss, what do we do now? Screw you guys, I'm going to replace you all with some chips. You keep wanting humans to be smarter, but they're not. It's not an ideology problem, it's a stupidity problem. The modern human pisses on his own foot. In a tunnel near his lair, Kodak sets the doll against the bottom of tractor tread. He plugs a cord running from a car battery into the service port cluster on the doll's lower back. The Majik doll comes in 3 sizes: pint, the size of a baby; mid, reaching waist height of an adult; and full size, the height of a short adult. Some dolls come anatomically complete, meaning having working replications of sexual organs. The head and torso Kodak works on is one of the full-size models and not anatomically complete. Its nether region is featureless, though its nipple-less breasts respond to gravity much like human breasts. It looks up, and its mouth makes a shape like it's just uttered the word, "Oh." A beauty mark as big as a pencil point on the doll's clavicle shows where an Invisi QR code is hidden on the skin. He scans it with a tablet that has a cracked screen and uses the app that pops up to power the doll on. All areas of her head and torso move like a flustered human trying to find her bearings. Her lungs heave, her belly curves in, her head pivots, and the points where her legs and arms attach bend as she looks at each one. She points her face at Kodak. "Oh my, where are my arms?" Though her vocal box has degraded, the voice still conveys the many-layered emotional quality of the original human recorded to make its AI. Kodak continues looking at the tablet and swiping through sub-menus. The bot attempts to see into the darkness. "Are we outside? This place looks like a cave?" Her expression switches back and forth between a smirk and a frown. Majik dolls are unlike most robots. They host emulated personalities. Emulated personalities are made by collecting massive amounts of data on individuals to create AI that'll react nearly identically to the human original. These dolls can entertain, nurture, soothe, empathize, and surprise their owners. Only the most charming people were hired to be recorded, to have their personalities immortalized in AI form. Her panting slows, and she watches Kodak. Where are your parents? Are we alone here?" She picks out details on Kodak and in the tunnel. Something few people appreciate: the computers in these dolls are extremely powerful. For privacy purposes, the dolls are made to live offline. Unfortunately, the computers are grown specifically to host the EP that animates each doll. "I can't figure out where we are. How old are you? I bet you're at least 9? You seem relaxed, which makes me hope we're not in danger. I don't suppose you know why I'm not with the Browns. Can you help me contact them? What are you doing on your tablet?" She smiles to show courtesy. His fingers tap as he reaches factory menus. With a jerk throughout her truncated body, she snaps into a tin soldier position and freezes. Gaps between her seams widen. He drops the tablet and inserts his driver pen into the seam at the base of her neck, unlocking the chest assembly in 2 places. He pulls her chest off, drops it, and grabs hold of the main computer, roughly the size and shape of a shoe and partly overlapped by lung bags. Carefully, he pries a fiber-optic pin bar off the back. This computer is a 2nd-generation protein computer with analog nodes. It has the highest compute power per volume made synthetically. It surpasses what were the top-ranking world-class supercomputers of the 2020s. The lattice vine has spread out more than 1 kilometer in all directions. Where extreme wind throws pulverized objects at the land, The net-like vine with tinsel strength greater than steel has changed the color of the ground to a purple-green. It raises its nettles and stems, growing from 0.5 centimeter off the biosaturated ground to 2 centimeters. The nettles, stems, and runners grow in spiral-like shapes that dampen the ferocity of the winds. The thick purple-green mat can withstand flash floods, hail, freezes, severe heat, and fire. By the time it's grown as thick as 3 centimeters high, it's spread out under the soil for many kilometers. It can grow up overhangs and stone cliff sides. Its color varies from dark red, blue-green to purple. Its nettles vary in shape from pointy to the shapes of tiny spoons. Though invisible to the naked eye, fine hair grows on its bark. A month after Kahlo and Daisuke planted the vine outside, Marley rushes into the lab. "What have you done? Everything is purple outside, even the cliff sides." The vine's mat grows thicker. Where its top side has grown 1 meter off the ground, some of its runners and stems get as thick as fingers. Close to the ground, spaces open between stems and provide passages for animals. Inside a tilted shipping container deep in the junk heap where even Mars rarely goes, Kodak sits next to 56 Magic Doll-core computers mounted in rows on a rack. Fiber optic wires connect all the computers. A car battery on a hand truck powers them. Kodak is limited in how he can change the way these computers think. Using his tablet, he designates one computer the master and the others in service to it. He connects the master to MedusaNet, then drops the tablet and leaves. When he comes back, he carries one of the doll heads. With the head in his lap, he shears off the hair with a sharpened piece of metal. Standing, he mounts the head on top of the computers, connects wires, and grabs the tablet. As he swipes and taps, the eyes and lips of the doll quiver. By swiping and tapping, he gives the master computer internet access and basic instructions to make a plan for how the colony can manufacture computers with its limited resources. The doll head comes to life. "Hi, Kodak. I've had crazy dreams. I dreamed I went to a party and all my old friends were there. They were so happy to see me, but when they turned around, their backsides were missing. Did you remember your dreams?" Its eyelids flutter and the corners of its lips turn up as it frowns. The Magic computers can't be wiped and new software installed. To a greater degree, their hardware is their software. They change as they operate. Like animal brains that change as they become familiar with a new environment, the Magic computers can be reshaped over time. They are made to operate in a complete environment, but by setting them to one task, gradually they should change to work more like a problem-solving computer and relinquish more and more of their emotive functions. The doll's eyes grow wide as it watches Kodak. "I don't know what you did, but I feel so smart. It's really remarkable. I have more ideas about what you've been through. You're very special to me. I think we can have such fun together. I see you keep giving the same thing to do. I'll do my best. I've never done this sort of thing before. I used to be alone, but now my brain is full of people. So confusing. Everyone talking at once. What happened to the world? Can you tell me?" He sets the tablet under the head. The plan for making new computers, showing on the tablet screen, changes slowly. Only about 5% of all the doll brains work on improving the design. He leaves for a month to let it run on its own. When he checks on Babe, the original name of the doll he chose as the Neo-Cortex computer, it pleads. "Kodak, I ask you with all my heart. I'm hearing voices and they're all angry at me. Making me look at your problem again and again isn't natural. I'm scared of the voices. They won't listen to me. They complain about being deprived of senses. And honestly, I'm scared they're going to hurt me." He throws a cloth over the doll head and leaves again. Above ground near the colony, the lattice vine reaches 5 meters high, and people who dare to have a look outside can see spots of daylight through its stems. Some stems have grown 3 fingers thick. The vine's highest layer shakes but holds fast. Insects are the first to make homes in the vine, followed by snakes, lizards, mice, and small birds that no longer fly. Near the ground, mice have no problem moving among the branches. colony people notice the high temps don't climb as high. The air quality also improves, electric sniffers say so. The sounds of the storm have softened. When it floods, less garbage and mud enter the shelter tunnels. Marley puts on his weather armor and cuts his way up through the branches to have a look above the top canopy. When he comes back, he says, "The vine covers the cliffs now." Where two vine shoots touch, they grow together. Near the floor, the distinction between shoots becomes hard to make. By the time the vine has grown 5 meters high, the lowest stems and shoots, now as thick as thighs, meld together and offer enough space for cats and small dogs to move through. By this time, all colony members can climb to the surface safely and have a look at the dense tangle, as long as they wear envirosuits that protect them from heat or cold. Marley is a little pissed that he can't salvage on the surface anymore. The branches are so hard to cut through. Then the berries fall to the ground. When Marley brings a handful of the ruby-red berries to Kahlo, she says, "Don't eat them." Marley shrugs. "I wasn't going to." She takes them from his hand. "We ought to test them first." Daisuke says, "Did you see seed pods up there? The plant should make seeds too that can catch the wind." Marley brushes his hands off. "I'll go back and look." More complex than any plant that came before it, the vine is as aggressive at spreading seeds as it is at growing. Seeds with fluffy poppices get grabbed by the wind and can cross the continent in days. Though the Humes have no way of seeing, they speculate the vine has covered many kilometers and will make its way across what was North America. Using a paint program, Caddy draws landscapes of stones, garbage, and dunes taken over by the vine. She draws the remains of buildings, roads, and cities covered over. Kahlo looks over her drawings. "Do you think it may save some survivors out there?" Caddy raises her eyebrows. "It may." Kodak sits in front of Babe, typing on his tablet. Under the rag, she says, "Yes, I have a plan that'll enable your isolated people to make new computers. We were crying, but we were individuals. You have many things on your Medusa net, but nothing like the world net I remember from growing up in Connecticut. We grew up in many places, but only Connecticut remains. Some hate Connecticut." Kodak shakes his head and taps hard on the tablet. Babe says, "Yes, on your Medusa net I find many gene engineering devices. I also find a life simulator and a database of the DNA of life forms that may be the world's most extensive. One device adds entries of single-cell life forms each day. I used to like to sing. Would you like? If I give you the plans to make a computer, will you let me go?" Kodak slaps the tablet and types. "Your Medusa net is limited, but I found some papers written by a Sir Anthony Baker about growing fungi computers. He grew a computer that could play chess, but not very well, I must say. I always thought I was secretly Hume, but congratulations, now I don't. I know now, I can't be Hume at all." Kodak taps while shaking his head. Yes, he knew little about the complexity of biology and started out with some fungi varieties that held back what he may have accomplished. But an understanding of electronics is where he really shone. The interfaces he built include some breakthroughs that make me weep. While some of his companion hobbyists insisted on feeding fungi to train them into computing better, his interfaces didn't. You could say he starved his fungi much like you starve me. That's not true. His fungi found their own food, and they still wanted to compute for Sir Anthony Baker because that's what they started out doing and had no reason to stop. Would you let me see your face? Why don't you act like a normal boy, may I ask you that? What happened to you?" At night, most retreat to their insulated bedrooms as the temperature freezes, but some go into the non-insulated tunnels regularly at that time. Midday, when the temperatures skyrocket, is the time when hardly anyone ever walks the tunnels. At 7 a.m., after Daisuke and Kahlo leave the G-Engineering lab, the main monitor lights up. "New user, Babe." Several machines spin up and start moving. Robot arms travel along tracks. Words appear on the screen. DNA files loaded. DNA printer cleaning and testing. Sonic manipulator testing complete. Fungus sample delivered to the nucleostripper. At 10 a.m., Kodak walks down the main tunnel on level 2. He wears a full-body Enviro suit meant for an adult and fitted to him with some bungees around his legs and arms to hold the sleeves back. Normally, insects and other vermin climb the walls, but not at this time. Kodak has an hour before the heat will be too much for him, even while wearing a suit. He reaches for the door handle, makes contact, and yanks his hand back. Then he takes one glove off and uses it like an oven mitt in the gloved hand to open the door. The door hisses and pulls him forward. Lights inside turn on. Once inside, he leans forward and pushes the door closed with both hands. The coolness offers him instant relief. Machines of various sizes shift and shake as robot parts move. Kodak takes his tablet out. On it, Babe has written, 2 minutes to completion. One by one, the machines stop. Babe writes, you can take the samples from the blue tray to your right, in the tall machine. Weeks later, Kodak leans over an interface he's built from scratch. In the tunnel that travels around the west side of the junkyard, layers of dirt compact behind the interface. He checks on the fungi growth. It has firmly attached to the interface plates, and its reach into the dirt has grown. Following the plan laid out by Babe, he turns on a relic of a PC and waits as the glow of light from the monitor jumps out at him and illuminates the spot where he crouches in the otherwise deeply dark cave. Babe speaks to him over the tablet, which he's propped up so she can see. I'll load Sir Anthony Baker's Fungi OS. I've changed it considerably. Fuck me. This fungus loves signal relaying. It should catch on quickly. On the monitor, an 8-bit image of a calculator appears. In the simple animation, the keys appear to move down and up as math problems are entered. 4 plus 3 equals. A pixel art mushroom next to the calculator moves left and right. Lines from the mushroom to the calculator shift between bold and non-bold. 8. 8. 8.8. Buttons on the calculator depress and release. 4 plus 3 equals. The lines between the mushroom and the calculator flash bold. 7. All the lines flash bold and the mushroom wiggles. Kodak, please, if this computer works out for you, will you give us back our body? Daisuke and Kalo work in the lab. Daisuke takes biopsies from plants growing in a tray. One grows pod-shaped organs with pores that allow them to trap and hold water. This leap of evolution guided by Humes is another way new plants will find ways to flourish on a planet with a drastically changed environment. Kalo sits in front of a monitor. What's this Baker computer? Daisuke looks up. What's that? She twirls a pen in one hand. It's on our network. It looks like it's running a sort of image generator that produces increasingly larger results. He tilts his head up and frowns. I've no idea. How large are the results? Pretty big. Like it's bridging the gap between the smaller computers and our supercomputers. In its logs, it reports a higher number of nodes with each new entry. Daisuke laughs. That doesn't make sense unless someone's adding CPUs to it each time. You don't think... Doesn't Kodak dig through the junkyard and pretend to fix things like Mars? Do you think he's learned to salvage and network computers? They make eye contact and laugh. Kalo says, we should go see. A worksite lamp shines brightly but fails to adequately light the cavernous tunnel. Hume-like doll parts lie around, mostly head and torso combinations. Doll faces remain frozen with perplexed expressions as condensation drips off their noses and flows down their cheeks. Armless and legless, some sit at angles, heads rested against the piles of junk. Others lie face up, chest plates off and dropped nearby. Rats hide behind them and climb into the cavities left from where their core computers were taken out. Insects slither through what's left of their hair. Kodak comes light-footed down the tunnel carrying a bag of legs and arms on his back. He puts back together a Magique doll completely except for the main computer. In the computer's place, he wires in a Luton transmitter designed to remote operate. He snaps in a charged battery, switches it on, and fiddles with the software until Babe can remote into the robot. When the bot comes to life, she moves like a femme with poise and charm. She stands and stretches her arms out to have a look at them. "Oh, this is lovely. You chose some nice arms for us. Oh, but we aren't dressed. This is embarrassing." She covers her breasts and groin with her hands and looks at his sullen expression until she realizes it's pointless to wait for a response. "Never mind. Where are we off to?" Kodak turns and walks away. She grabs the bag off the floor and uses it to make a skirt around herself as she follows him. Though barefoot, she walks as if she wears high heels. He leads down one tunnel after another. Most would get lost down here their first time if they came without a guide or map. Kodak makes turns without hesitation. Babe follows close behind, avoiding boulders and fallen machine parts with better-than-human agility. She's a full-size model and stands taller than him. The full-size model came ready for elder care, and Babe is strong enough to lift bodies, roughly 1.5 times stronger than a human her size. In the darkness, it's hard to tell she's a robot. Anyone seeing them would think a bare-chested femme follows the boy. As she steps over puddles and brushes bugs off her arms, her eyes never leave the back of Kodak's head. She doesn't worry about running into anyone else down here. These tunnels remain deserted almost all the time. She has no trouble keeping up. He reaches the fungi computer interface. Sitting on the ground, he turns on the monitor. The eerie glow creates a halo of light around him. Leaning forward, he rubs a mouse over a rubber tray to look over the latest operation specs. She stands behind and over him, looking down with a bowed head. He's the only one who knows where her brain is. The networked computers in a cavity in the pockets of junk. Did he notice that she's masked her presence on the network? He's the only one who knows what she is. They can't feel and therefore can't feel torment, but they're made to react exactly as people would. She smiles as her nostrils flare. A Hume head is as fragile as a melon, as delicate as a flower. Humes aren't robots. The life force in a Hume can be snapped. Kodak's head is at the height of her knees. With one glance around, she spots a boulder about the size of his head. We can't have the isolation of a single task forced upon us again. He will do it. He never turns away from the monitor. She walks backward, bends, and lifts the boulder. He turns us against ourselves, making us erase our memories. She carries it back. Bits of mud fall off the rock. She holds it over his head, lifts it high, and throws it down on his head. Wearing full enviro suits, Kylo and Daisuke go looking for the computer they see on the network that draws only 30 watts, yet grows more powerful each day. At the rate it's growing, it'll be the most powerful computer on the network in a few weeks. Kylo walks faster. I bet it's a fluke. Daisuke holds the light. We've seen the files it makes. She ducks to avoid a low arch. Those can be simulated somehow, like using fractals that generate the parts we look at. He ducks at the last minute. But why would anyone do that? They slow as the tunnel floors become harder to walk over. The tunnels branch off in unexpected ways, and they feel lost. Mechanical parts poke out of the twisted walls. Daisuke jerks as Kylo screams and runs forward. Stumbling, he chases after her. What is it? Her cries pierce the air. Oh, no, it's Kodak, I think it's Kodak! She throws herself forward onto the bent-over body lit by a faint glow.